President Biden has unveiled sweeping new vaccine mandates for American workers. Roughly 100 million people will be required to get some level of vaccines or testing. As part of the president's COVID-19 action plan, vaccines will be required for all federal employees and contractors. Employees at companies with 100 or more people on staff will also face weekly testing. These measures are the latest in the administration's fight to curb the spread of COVID-19 as cases, hospitalizations, and deaths rise. Weijia Jiang, our White House correspondent, has the latest.
We're in the tough stretch, and it could last for a while.
Tonight, President Biden acknowledged the COVID challenges crippling the country, warning things won't improve until the unvaccinated get their shots.
Many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still not vaccinated, even though the vaccine is safe, effective, and free.
And so today, the president announced the most sweeping rules to date. All 9 million federal and contract workers must be vaccinated or face losing their jobs. Private sector companies with over 100 employees must require vaccinations or weekly testing. That accounts for 80 million workers. Businesses that don't comply will face fines. Vaccinations will also be required for the more than 17 million people who work at hospitals that receive Medicare or Medicaid funding.
This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and those around you, the people you work with, the people you care about, the people you love.
The daily COVID averages are startling. More than 140,000 new cases and more than 1,000 deaths a day have alarmed White House officials, especially after the president declared independence from the virus this summer.
We've gained the upper hand against this virus.
The administration is increasing testing supplies and making at-home kits cheaper. And now, with the spiking cases among children and teenagers, Mr. Biden is urging schools to set up regular testing for staff and students.
So parents, please get your teenager vaccinated.
President Biden also called out southern state Republican governors for standing in the way of progress.
Right now, local school officials are trying to keep children safe in a pandemic while their governor picks a fight with them and even threatens their salaries or their jobs. Talk about bullying in schools.
And Weijia joins me now from the White House with more. Weijia, how is this plan different from other COVID measures that we've seen before from the White House?
So these are the most sweeping rules that we have seen, because before the president was focusing more on federal workers, and he actually strengthened the mandate against federal workers. Before today, they had an option of testing weekly instead of having to get the vaccine. But these new requirements will have every federal worker, about 4 million, and contractor, an additional 5 million people. They have to get the vaccine or risk disciplinary actions, including losing their jobs. And so what we're seeing today is, in addition to that, it's going to have an impact on the private sector. And that is something that he's been very hesitant to, directly take action against before. But the Labor Department, OSHA, is developing a new rule that will have all employers who have at least 100 workers, they have to require vaccines or weekly testing. And so that puts the burden on many, many companies. Although I have to say, Lana, it's unclear when that rule will actually be implemented and how much time companies will have to comply. But the other new thing is that there are real consequences to pay here. For employers that do not comply, they face fines of up to $14,000 per violation. And so, it has real teeth here to put the pressure on businesses, to put the pressure on their workers to get vaccinated.
So, Weijia, has there been any response from federal employee unions specifically to that aspect of the plan, the vaccine mandate?
So the two biggest workers' unions in the country have responded to this, and they say that these changes should be negotiated. But at the same time, they are encouraging everybody to get vaccinated. And so they are not criticizing the president's new requirement, but they do say they want to read more details in the executive order and talk to the White House to get a better understanding of it before they really firm up their response. I will say, though, that tonight I was just going to add that Republicans are certainly bashing these new requirements, calling it unconstitutional or nothing short of tyranny, as one House lawmaker put it. But I think it's important to note that we've also heard from people in the business community who say they are now relieved that they have cover to mandate vaccines for their employees.
That's very interesting. I'm wondering, especially with that Republican response, what we've heard as a criticism is that this lays the foundation from the administration to mandate vaccines for all Americans in the future. Might that be something on the horizon?
So just last month, when we heard from President Biden, or I should say the end of July, he was very frank, and he said he didn't know if legally the federal government could mandate vaccines for the whole country. He said he just didn't know if he had the authority to do that. And it's unclear if that has changed. It's also unclear if that's on the table at all, because they've been very careful, the White House that is, to say that is not the role of the federal government, that it is up to private businesses, that it's up to states and local governments to make that decision. But there was a point in time where candidate Biden also said he didn't believe in federal mandates of any kind. So things evolve, the science evolves, and it's would be irresponsible for anybody to say in black or white whether that is something that could surface down the road, because we don't know how serious or worse the pandemic might get.
All right, Weijia, thank you.
Sure.